my number 3 is a game from 2022
Love it.
called Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart. This is just another prime example of a game we were just talking about earlier with Mario, where every single mechanic reinforces the end experience, right? The game goes quickly. It's like 15 hours. It was actually lent to me. It's a physical disc, which I loved. I actually loved popping in. It's the whole reason why I bought the PS5 in the first place, was so I would have the physical disc.
It came in handy. It finally came in handy.
Yeah, shout out to Dr. Z. But it's quick, it's fun. The guns do different things. The bosses are fun to fight, and then they do this really great thing, right? You get to the end of the world, and you're about to go fight the final boss, and they're like, "Here's where everything is. If you want to go back through the levels and you want to go find all the secrets, like here they all are." And you can just go collect all the coins and do all the secret things and do all the little secret missions that you want to do. If you want to do them, you don't have to dig around. You don't have to guess where you think they might be. They're all here in every level. And you want to go back, and there's I'm a big sucker for in a single player game of a battle arena. So, Kingdom Hearts, if you've ever played Kingdom Hearts, had the Colosseum where you had to get through levels 1 through 100, and God of War has a sequence like that where you can go just battle different people. And then Ratchet and Clank has their version of that, where you go in, the whole point is just, I don't want to do the story right now, I just want to battle some guys and unlock a new pair of armor. So this game lands number 3 for me. It's easy, it's fun, easy to play. Everything is there, clean and simple. Controls feel great. The end.
So I got a dirty secret. I've never played a Ratchet and Clank game. And I see this game and it makes me think, gosh, I want to play that game so bad. This is like one of those games that I might buy a PS5 for, but I don't think that's justifiable.
Well, this was my first Ratchet and Clank game. And I know it's a popular series, but it's kind of in the same vein as Spyro and Crash Bandicoot, walk through a multi-dimensional level and collect coins along the way and fight kind of robotic bad guys. They had the whole theme of the game was Rift Apart, where they would have these, rifts open in time, these little portals. And that they did some really cool stuff with level design with that. I mean, I've posted many shorts about that on various channels, where you'll be on a rail, and then you'll jump to another rail, and then the whole environment changes, and then you come back to the real world, and you're kind of going in and out. You can pull yourself through space to fight your enemies. And so they integrated all that stuff really well. And with a game like that, you want it to be easy to get through the story. And that's what I just continue to say, right? Human beings are creatures of convenience, and we are creatures of convenience, and we become especially that way as we become older gamers. If we look at something and we go, this quest might be 10 hours and I might get a cosmetic from this, I'm not gonna do it, right? Unless I'm on, look, if it's my full-time job to play games all day and I don't have anything else and that's my full-time gig, I will do it. Right, I'll 100% every game. But
I'm not signing up for that. If that ever becomes my job, I'm not doing that. Like that's going to be my rider. Like I refuse 100% anything.
Right. I'm not going to do it now, definitely. And so for them to make it convenient, you really don't have to. I really didn't struggle as a easy gamer to figure out where to go, what to do, how to get on here. They just go here. This is where you go. Go fight this baddie over here. You're like, okay, cool. Like I know what I'm doing, and then little cutscenes along the way, and okay, this is fun, and yeah. So that for me, it's a clean and simple, cut and dry, easy number 3 for me. I was pleasantly surprised, and it was probably high on my list at number 3 because I had never played a Ratchet and Clank game before. So sometimes when we cultivate these lists, right, it is from personal experience, right?
Definitely.
If I've played all the Ratchet and Clank games, maybe this lands at number 5, or maybe this doesn't even make the list, right? But because this is a novel experience for me, that lands it higher on the list.
Yeah, and I think like an interesting observation is like talking about Diablo 4 just seconds ago. Like Diablo 4 is a game that you've played 4 times, a Diablo game, right? I would assume you've played it 4 times. Maybe an expansion makes it 4.5. But I mean, like, you compare that you already have that muscle memory to, in comparison to Ratchet and Clank, which you don't, and it's a brand new experience that's been well polished, and it's your first time coming in. Like, you can see where the argument is made to put it high on the list, and I think it's fair. When I played Uncharted 4, I was blown away at how good that game was, and I never touched an Uncharted game prior. And I think that's totally okay. My number 3 game of 2023 that I played is called A Plague Tale Requiem. This is the second Plague Tale. Comes from Microsoft Studios, I believe. And this game is high on my list because it hit me in the emotion sack as hard as it could. And this game is gorgeous. It's beautiful. I was playing on an X series, Xbox X series. This feels as impactful as Last of Us. I think that this is a game that is absolutely phenomenal in many ways. The narrative is absolutely amazing. It is depressing, right? I mean, you are in the plague. There are people being murked left and right. You play a set of siblings. The younger brother has some sort of affinity with the rats within the bubonic plague type scenario. It's fictional. But essentially what you do is you play as the older sibling who is the protector of the younger sibling. And by the end of the game, it starts messing with your head in a way that you would see a game like Hellblade do. And if you don't know Hellblade, it's essentially a main character who is not a trustworthy narrator. So she's kind of inventing different personalities, and she has voices in her head. And as you make your way through the game, you don't know what's real and what's fake. And they play on those mechanics later in this game in a surprising way. And at the end, like, I was stumped. And then when I had to look up the solution, I was like, wow, this is a really cool twist on a game like this. I really think that this is top shelf narration in video games. I really do. I think the narrative is amazing. The story is amazing. The character development is awesome. The way they integrate the different characters in the actual gameplay as you get through the mid and late stages of that game is really smart. I will say that I got pretty frustrated with the combat, and here's why I believe that happened. I think the combat is probably better than I give it credit for, but what would happen is this game is so heavy and depressing that I would play it for a while and I'd be like, I'm not really in the mood to dive into this. It's kind of been a tough week, and I'd play something else. And then, 2 weeks would go by and I'd be like, okay, I'm going to go back. Oh man, this narrative is great. Why did I stop playing this? Boom, boom, boom. And when you get into that cadence of like start and stop in a game like this, it's hard to remember the mechanics and then remember the enemy types and which counterbalances each one. We used to joke that there should be a dad mode to bring you back up to speed. There's not. So you just kind of like find your way through it and try to figure out how it goes. I believe that this game was held up as a critical success in the past. I don't know how many people actually played this game. It's heavy. It's really good. I would really like people to play it, but it's an example of how like some of these video games can be telling a narrative that is so heavy that it's hard to like engage with. And that uncomfortable feeling that you get when with a game like this is really something to experience, which is why it sits at number 3. I would recommend it knowing what you're getting into. You're going to get a top shelf, beautiful narrative experience unlike any other. And I think the story that it tells would be hard to tell in any other way other than through a video game, which is why I'm putting it at number 3 on my 2023 list.